Yate Osio Halito Istango Bojo from the Indian Nations University. You're watching Haskell News. Hello and welcome to Haskell News. I'm Justin Buster. Students, staff, and other Lawrence residents gathered at Curtis Hall this week to meet with Governor Brownback. Here's Tiara Eagle with the story now.
On November 14th, students shared their stories about boarding schools and how they think Native Americans can heal themselves from the experience.
It's a good thing that us Native Americans are in school. I mean, we need this education, and education is important to us Native Americans. Not many natives would fully understand what having education is, but having an education means it's going to benefit you. It's going to benefit yourself, your family, your tribe. Whatever you earn in society within your education, you're going to take that back to your tribe and you're going to help your people.
So, how many of you guys know unforgiveness holds something within you? So we have to forgive. We have to be strong people. We have to rise up and be the warriors and leaders that we were called to be. We have to show people that this land is all of our land, not just one person's. We all have to share it. We all have to share the same water. We all have to share the same food. We have to be what God called us to be, and that's the people. In my language, we say Nama. That just means the people. We are the people. That's it. We are just created to be what He called us to be.
Our great leader, Makbialuta Rekha, he's the one who established that. Of course, he probably didn't have the intention of the children being hurt, but his main focus was for us to prosper in the future, the seventh generation. And so, and back to what Maria was talking about, us getting an education is very important. So.
Today we are acknowledging that the boarding schools happened and that the boarding schools has caused so much hurt and so much pain. But tonight we began part of our healing. We began part of the healing by acknowledging the story. And by telling the story of what happened to us, healing comes.
I want to say to you tonight, the pain that I know that many have suffered, and we all have suffered some. I want to encourage you to do what has been said already, and what's going to be said in the workshops, to acknowledge it, don't run from it, confess it, and ask God for the grace to say, I forgive. And name it, whatever boarding school it was in, some of your parents were in, whatever boarding school, say, Lord, I forgive them because you have forgiven me. Thank you so much. 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Governor Brownback read off a proclamation stating that the state of Kansas apologizes for the treatment of natives during the boarding school era.
Well, that's a long story to say that what I think we have to do as the state of Kansas is acknowledge that past that did happen here, that was part of official government policy. This is official government policy. And it was bad. I don't doubt that some people thought when they were doing it, they were doing the right thing. That saying, okay, well, we want to educate Native Americans, and to do that, we're going to have to get them out of the tribal state. I mean, I can see somebody thinking their way through this, saying, oh, okay, this is what we ought to do, this will be good. And it wasn't. It was bad. And it's very harmful. And it hurt a lot of people. And there's a long history then to that. And we need to own it and ask for forgiveness. So I've got a proclamation I would like to sign here, and I've got some copies if anybody's interested in it. And I would just like to read this. This is on behalf of the state of Kansas. Proclamation by the governor. The people of Kansas. Whereas for more than a century, Indian boarding schools separated young Native Americans from their families and communities for the purpose of educating the children in isolation, far from the influence of their homes, families, traditions, and cultures. And whereas too often many of these children were forcibly removed from their homes and sent to boarding and mission schools, were inadequately fed, clothed, housed, and deprived of the care and nurturing of their parents, grandparents, and communities, and were forbidden to speak their native language or practice their traditional cultures, and were often subjected to physical and mental abuse, and tragically, the most vulnerable of these children died while attending these schools and were never returned home to their parents and tribes. And whereas despite the harsh and sad beginnings of the Indian boarding schools and mission schools, Haskell officially opened in 1884 under the name the United States Indian Industrial Training School and provided agricultural trades training and elementary level academic training. And whereas during the 1930s, Haskell provided industrial training and evolved into a vocational technical institution and continued to evolve into a junior college in 1970 and renamed Haskell Indian Junior College. And whereas 22 years later, Haskell's vision to become a national center for Indian education, research, and cultural preservation prompted the National Haskell Board of Regents to recommend Haskell to become Haskell Indian Nations University. Now therefore, I, Sam Brownback, Governor of the State of Kansas, do hereby proclaim and recognize Haskell Indian Nations University and the special and historical significance this college has with the state of Kansas, and expresses deep remorse for the ramifications of former ill-conceived assimilation policies, and apologizes on behalf of the people of Kansas to all Native peoples for the hardships, maltreatment, and deaths of the children that attended Haskell and were never returned to their families and ancestors, and resolves to move forward with Haskell in a positive and constructive relationship that will help us to achieve our mutual goals and harmoniously steward and protect Haskell Indian Nations University. I'm signing this 14th day of November 2013 as Governor of Kansas. Thank you, and to me, these are the beginnings. It says in the end, this is acknowledging, this is dealing, and now you've built a relationship that you couldn't build previously, is my hope and my prayer. And Will and Patricia, God bless you guys for this journey, and I hope we can move forward together with Haskell. I was talking with your acting president about what we can do to be a cooperative piece of this. Thank you for being out tonight.
This is Tiara Eagle Elk with Haskell News.
A ghost walk on campus. Students took a tour of the most spiritually active buildings and places here on campus. I was there in attendance. Here's that story now. Professor Arkakita and two students with extrasensory abilities hosted a ghost walk on campus. Students from Mrs. Arkakita's tribal management class were present for the tour. 6 places around campus were visited, and the spirits who dwelled within were described by Mrs. Arkakita and the 2 student psychics, Lisa and Chamisa. We visited Minoka, where one of the student psychics described having been watched from the windows along the side facing Pokey. We went to Tecumseh, where apparently one of the psychics had seen a full-bodied apparition of a ghost, and also spirits watching people from out the windows along the side facing the auditorium.
Walking by Pokey all the time. Yeah. But this room right here, last time I was up there, I went.
We visited the auditorium where apparently an angry spirit lives underneath the stage.
It's a man, and he's not very nice. He's not demonic. He's not. But he's very...
We visited Pocahontas, where one of the psychics says that a woman jumped off the top of the building and claims to hear children playing in the atrium in the middle of Pocahontas.
I don't know if she jumped from here, or I don't know. Somebody jumped, a woman jumped from here one time. She likes to stay here.
We also visited Road Cloud, where somewhere along the way we picked up some spirits that were following us.
Somewhere between the auditorium and this.
We visited the library. Take a listen to what Mrs. Arkakita had to say about the spirits who dwelled within.
I feel like there's a man back in this hallway. There's a hallway back here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like associated with the TV stuff, around in that area.
The studio? Mm-hmm.
And it's a guy. That's a guy. Now, there may be a girl up here, but I don't feel her actually right at the moment. But I do sense this man that's back there, and I think he could be Henri, too. I don't think he's mean or anything like But it's always there. And
Our last and final stop was right between Blaylock and Roe Cloud. Apparently, there's a circle of spirits who dwell between the two buildings who are waiting for their stars to align so that they can ascend. I spoke with one of the students who took the tour. Here's what he had to say.
It was a little bit. I'm not going to say it's all wrong, but I have yet to see anything to prove otherwise, so who knows?
I also spoke with two of the psychics, and I asked them about their first paranormal experience here at Haskell. Well, I don't know. I mean, what was your first experience or psychic experience here at Haskell?
I guess it was when I was being haunted inside of Winona.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the bathroom taking a shower and getting ready for bed, and I was the only one that was in there, and the toilet flushed by itself.
Wow. Okay.
Hello.
So, what was your first, I don't know, paranormal experience here at Haskell?
When, I guess like the most vivid one, I lived at OK, and I was asleep, and there was a little boy that treated me like his big sister, so he would wake me up. And there's a couple times when I would wake up, he'd be tapping me on my back, and I'd wake up and just kind of flip over and get like mad at him and be like, "Stop it, leave me alone, let me sleep." But there was like not a little boy there, but he kind of bothered me.
Okay, appreciate that. And in sports, the Haskell men's basketball team saw some Division I action when they traveled to Tulsa on October 31st. Here's Shelby Boton with the story.
On October 31st, the Haskell Indians basketball team traveled to Tulsa, Oklahoma to take on the Golden Hurricane of the University of Tulsa. Haskell made it interesting early in the first half by taking the first lead on a three-pointer by Stan Lovato, but the Golden Hurricane proved too much by going on a 27-7 run. Ultimately, the Indians would fall to the Golden Hurricane 55-118. Haskell had 3 players in double figures, with Jolly D. Sequoia and Stan Lovato with 11 apiece, and Ron Russo with 10 points, respectively. This is Shelby Boton with Haskell News.
Well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching Haskell News. I'm Justin Buster. Onward, Haskell.